If this is the only thing anyone's ever going to hear, I might as well like throw everything at it. You never assume you're going to get to make multiple records. We're going to do this, and if you're still with us after this, then great, then we can do what we want. We just always found it exciting to try something different, not just do more of the same.
You've got like a whole string section.
It felt like it was inevitable that we'd end up there. The journey from album 1 to album 7 still kind of like has a common thread.
Matt Helders is the drummer and co-founder of the rock band Arctic Monkeys. Since forming the band in 2002, Matt's signature style has been a defining element of their sound, powering hits like Brian Storm and I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor. Known for his dynamic drumming, energetic drum fills, and tight grooves, earning him the nickname the Agile Beast, please welcome Matt Helders to Drumeo. There it is, dude. It's awesome.
No.
Well, to all of you out there tuning in, please welcome Matt Helders from Arctic Monkeys to Drumeo.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you, man. We've wanted to do this for years.
Yeah.
And finally, you made the great trek from Los Angeles.
Yeah, I'm glad I did.
Yeah. It's been a fun few days filming.
Yep.
There's going to be a lot of stuff coming out on the channel over the next year or so. We gave you a mystery song, which was pretty interesting to see your approach to that. Well, we're not going to give anything away, so you'll see that coming out soon. And before we get into things, we release videos here on the Drumeo YouTube channel all the time, but we also have an amazing community over on the Drumeo platform with thousands of students learning music every single day. And we have some exclusive videos on the platform that will help you learn some of the most popular songs from the Arctic Monkeys, including Brian Storm, The View from the Afternoon, Are You Mine, and I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor. You can practice along with an instructor at slow tempos. All the notation will be on screen. And once you get the parts down, you can even practice along with Matt at full speed. So if you want to check those videos out and join the Drumeo community, you can check out the link down in the description and you can try it out for free. And yeah, man, you've been highly requested over the last number of years.
Really?
And you have a really unique style. We'll get into like your approach to starting to play drums, and you kind of learn through the band. Yeah. Which is pretty cool. So we'll dig into some of that stuff. But I'm also curious, when was the last time you actually played to the record versions of these songs? I assume it's been a while.
It's been a while. I think when we start to get ready to do a tour or get ready to like get back in the rehearsal room, I'll have like a listen, but a lot of them have just become, like live versions of it have taken over, and there's like a lot of it, some of it's subtle changes, some of it is just like taken a new form from just like playing it a load of times without like going back to reference the original.
Yeah.
So it's just become something else. So it is hard to sort of remember what I originally did on some of these.
So in this stream, we're going to walk through pretty much the entire Arctic Monkeys discography. This is going to be a special stream. We're going to walk through how the band's sound has changed from record to record, which is pretty noticeable in your catalog. So I want to start with the first record, Whatever People Say, That's What I'm Not, 2006.
Yeah.
And I think you said at this point you'd only been playing drums for 3 years on the first record. So what was that like, learning an instrument and then you're pretty much in the studio right away? I think for most of us, we were in our jam spaces or our bedrooms for 5 or 10 years before you played.
I mean, I think we definitely decided that we'd wait until we played a show. So I think we practiced for like a year together as a band until we were like ready to play in front of anyone. And then from then on, and that sort of like went quickly. Like we just wanted to play a lot and get good at playing live, and that was like the primary focus. And then, so when it came to recording, we were just recording what we were performing live basically, and recording together as a band. And we were all sort of learning at the same pace. But we were, like I think I'd mentioned before, we were sort of like playing to our, like right at the edge of our limitations of what we were capable of.
And when you listen to this record compared to later records, it's the drumming on it sounds like a lot more frantic, energetic. Like you can tell like there's a lot of licks being put in here that I think you had said were it's top of your your skill level at that point.
And it probably felt like that might have been my only chance. Like you never assume you're going to get to make multiple records. Yeah. Something like if this is the only thing anyone's ever going to hear, I might as well like throw everything at it.
There's going to be some stuff coming up on the channel too where I think it was on I Bet You Look Good on the Dance Floor, some of the hi-hat to snare stuff. Yeah. Really, I think unconventional for a lot of drummers, but I mean, you also don't know what you don't know when you're starting out. Like all of us pick up little things and later on down the road, you're like, oh man, maybe there was a different way to do that, but it's become a staple. Yeah,
there's probably a few more examples of that where it's like technically a bad habit that now I can't reverse and can't shake, but it's just the only way I know how to do it. Yeah. And it just makes the most sense to me.
Yeah. So the next track we're going to do is From the Ritz to the Rubble. Okay. And I think this was on the EP that you guys put out before the first record too, right? Yeah,
we did one that was it 5 Minutes with Arctic Monkeys? It was like the first thing we released before we got a record deal. I think we just put that out ourselves. We had that on, like a couple more songs on it.
Yeah. And drumming wise, what can we expect on this tune?
This one was similar. I suppose it was at the time where a lot of them were kind of a similar pace. Yeah, it moves around quite a bit as well with like weird fills and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Nice, man. Well, let's hear it.
From what I can remember. Anyway.
We'll see soon enough.
Last night these two bouncers and one of them's alright, the other one's a scary, and his way or no way, totalitarian. He's got no time for you, looking or breathing how he don't want you to. So step out the queue, he makes examples of you, and there's no way you can say behind the go through to the bit where you pay, and you realise then that it's finally the time to walk back past 10,000 eyes in a line, and you can swap jumpers and make another move. Instill in your brain you've got something to prove to all the smirky faces and the boys in black. Why can't they be pleasant? Why can't they have a laugh? He's got his hand in your chest, he wants to give you a tug. Well, secretly I think they want you all to kick off. They want arms flying everywhere and balls as well. It's just something to talk about, a story to tell ya. Well, so grab me, turn us all away, we'll put it down to fate. I said 1,000 million things that I could never say this morning. Got too deep, but how deep is too deep? This town's a different town today. So this town's a different town to what it was last night. You couldn't have done that on a Sunday. And that girl's a different girl today. So that girl's a different girl to where you kissed last night. You couldn't have done that on a Sunday. Of course not. Well, so let me tell us all the way to put it down to fate. I thought 1,000 million things that I could never think this morning. Got too deep, but how deep is too deep? Last night, what we talked about, it made so much sense. But now the haze has ascended, it don't make no sense anymore. We said last night, what we talked about, it made so much sense. But now the haze has ascended, it don't make no sense anymore. Oh.
Nice. Dude, there's like serious punk vibes in that.
Yeah, the energy of a late teen.
Yeah, exactly. So this time, I think I've heard you say you were thinking a lot more in terms of like trying to match riffs on your kit opposed to I'm going to play
Yeah.
a 16th note fill around the kit. It's more what's happening in the music. That's what I'm going to try to match on the kit.
Yeah, and I think musically it's sort of, there's a lot of movement, and even when the riff doesn't necessarily change, I might just sort of punctuate a part of it.
Yeah.
And all the changes, particularly back then, I think, I was particularly like focused on sort of, punctuating the changes. All the like stabs that are happening rhythmically are happening with me and the guitarist kind of at the same time.
Once this came out and you saw it was well received and everything, was that like, did you feel more pressure now to keep getting better and keep working at things, or did you just want to get out there and play live?
I mean, I think we sort of kind of like mentally moved on a bit from these songs by the time we'd recorded them properly, and that was obviously a fun process, and getting to like do them in a proper studio was like fun. But I think because we still felt very much like a live band who loved like touring and playing in front of people, we were like on to the next thing in that way. But that was, I think that was more about sort of maintaining the like originality of what we thought we'd done with this record, and trying to follow it up without like getting sort of lost in it. And because we were obviously playing that record live quite a lot all over the country and stuff, and then started to go a bit further afield. and it would have been tempting to sort of stay in that loop and just keep touring that record.
Yeah.
But we were quite eager to move on from it.
Did you think this record would be as big as it was? I think even now, looking back on 7 records, people, they always come back to this one as one of those like, peak records.
I had no idea, and I don't think, like, we started to get a bit of a clue. It's already changed so much since then, like how you release music and stuff, obviously. And like, so we did like put a single out and then another single, and both those singles did really well in England. But you still don't really have any idea what's happening everywhere else.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, you still might go on tour somewhere and there's still not like a full room of people yet.
Yeah.
And that was like good for us, I think. But yeah, none of us expected it to do what it did.
So then we moved to Favorite Worst Nightmare, second record. I feel like this one, it has like a similar energy to the first one, but it sounds more produced.
Yeah,
sounds
definitely.
like some more polish was put on it, but the sound is quite different on this one. I think of like Brainstorm.
Yeah.
And there's like this darker, heavier vibe to it. But what was different on this record for you guys?
I think it was, it was more produced. There was more like work done in the studio than the first time around. When we did the first record, we did a song a day and just sort of like pressed record. And like, it was already sort of ready. This time we were open to sort of developing them more in the studio and changing things about them like as we went along. And there were less finished ideas by the time we went into studio. And we were still sort of kind of like determined to, we were always back then determined to like if we've recorded it, we should be able to play this tomorrow live.
Yeah.
So we always had that attitude, like, so no more, like, no, not too many extra bits that we wouldn't be able to achieve tomorrow.
Yeah.
Now we don't like, not as precious about that, like having like an extra pair of hands on stage. It's not like a problem anymore. Like back then we were like, no, like if we can't do this tomorrow, we shouldn't be doing it. And it's like this weird attitude that we had, which helped us back then, obviously. But with the second record, we did like, we paid a little bit more attention to the production side of it for sure.
Yeah. And was there a conscious effort to like get a little bit heavier in some of those sounds, or that's just the natural evolution?
I think it was natural. I think it was getting sort of more experience playing live, sort of figuring out what we liked about how we played a bit more, and just the time that had passed, I think, and maybe what we were listening to and stuff influenced it probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. So the next track we have is Fluorescent, Adolescent.
Okay.
What should we expect from this one, drum-wise?
This one is, I mean, there's some sort of weird timing things on this one that kind of throw people off sometimes. Just in terms of like how I'm in sync with the guitarists again, like the sort of, I keep describing it as jerky because it just sounds like a bit like a wind-up toy that's a bit broken. So those bits can throw people off sometimes, but
nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's hear this one.
Fishnets, now you only get it in your night dress. Discarded all the naughty nights for niceness. Landed in a very common crisis. Everything's in order in a black hole. Nothing seems to put is the past though. That bloody memory's like an El Tabasco. Remember when you used to be a rascal? Oh, the boys are slag. The best you ever had, the best you ever had is just a memory and those dreams. When as daft as they seem, as daft as they seemed, my love, when you dream them all. Flicking through a little book of sex tips. Remember when the bars were all electric? And now when she told she's gonna get it, I'm guessing that she'd rather just forget it. Clinging to not getting sentimental. Said she wasn't going but she went still. Like a gentleman to be gentle. Was it a mechadabra or a betting pencil? Oh, the boys are slag. The best you ever had, the best you ever had is just a memory and those dreams. But as daft as they seem, as daft as they seem, my love, when you dream them overflow. Where did you go? Where did you go? Where did you go? Oh. Falling about, you took a left off last life lane. Just sound
Nice. You even got some of your signature open hi-hats in there.
Every time I try and get one in.
For any of you out there, pay attention. They're probably in every song, according to Matt.
I can't help myself.
That's awesome, dude. There's definitely like some, like the rhythm shift all the way through there.
Yeah, that's the bit that I think it's sort of like, if I haven't heard that one for a while, you can like forget some of those bits sometimes, which is, or just making it feel natural when you're going from one to the other.
Yeah.
Kind of takes a bit of practice sometimes.
So I think like halfway through, it completely changes from what you hear in the first verse and chorus.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. One thing that struck me when I was prepping for this is your drum influences are like quite a wide range of drummers that you list as people who have inspired you. John Bonham, Buddy Rich, Dave Grohl with Queens of the Stone Age, Questlove. I'd love to know like even what types of things you've been inspired by, and I mean Questlove stands out to me as I'd love to know what you've kind of pulled from him.
I mean, a lot of this stuff sort of goes in, gets messed up and comes out, I suppose. Because like when I first started playing drums, I would play along to hip hop and rap as I was learning. And kind of I was just like listening to that more so like when I was at school. And it was like instantly fun to play along to because there's like a load of space to do fills. There's like not like an intimidating pace to start trying to learn to play drums. Yeah. And it just like felt like fun to play along to that kind of music. And I think before I'd played drums when I was like 13, 14, I used to like have like decks to DJ on and just like in my bedroom to like my brother's friends and stuff. Yeah. And I'd play a lot of hip hop and like dance music on that. So I think the sense of rhythm came from there. So it just felt natural to sort of play along to stuff like that. And I used to watch, after school, me and Alex, the singer, I remember like we taped MTV on like Jay-Z Unplugged, and he had like the Roots as his band. And I remember thinking like I hadn't seen sort of rap music with a live band like be pulled off in that way back then. So that was that stuck with me. And I just think it comes out in some of like maybe some of like the kick drum patterns in some of these songs. The way like certain things are swung is probably from that. Yeah. And then with stuff like seeing Queens of the Stone Age with Dave Grohl and then seeing them with Joey as well back then was sort of, for me, I was just like, oh, I mean, in a very like typical way, I was like, oh, I'm not like hitting my drums hard enough. And that was like, for that second album, it kind of got a bit heavier for those reasons probably. Yeah. Like, it just sort of like, seeing it live had a big impact on me. Yeah. You said yesterday too, I think I was curious about the Buddy Rich influence and now I see it, but with the flat cymbals and all that. And a lot of that actually also was Chris Dangerous from the Hives, because at the time, a lot of those bands were just really popular in England. Like when I was first sort of going from like hip hop rap music to like indie and rock. Yeah. Those were the bands that were around obviously. And I just loved how that looked. And how he was sort of like dominating the kit, like so high up over it. And like, to this day, that's sort of like influenced how my kit set up. Love it. We're going to jump to the next record, but there is a breakdown of Brian's Storm coming sometime down the line. So stay tuned for that, where Matt dives into that groove and how to play it properly. I know a lot of us drummers get that wrong. And there's these subtle details, man, that it's so cool to see you actually like break that down. So all that will be available, and there's going to be more at the link below as well if you want to actually learn that for yourself. So jumping to Humbug 2009, album 3, what's different at this point in the band and the way you guys are playing and recording? This one was a big shift, and this one was where we sort of like went from being Queens of the Stone Age fans to working with Josh from Queens of the Stone Age. And so he produced the most part of this record, and it was the first time we made an album outside of England. We went to Joshua Tree and had a bit of like the California experience and the desert experience of making records, and that just had a massive influence on us. That's probably part of the reason I ended up living there in a way. Like we had such a good time there, and it like opened my eyes to some just like other possibilities. And then working with Josh was a lot of fun for us, and he wasn't interested in making us sound like Queens of the Stone Age, and we were just sort of there to do something different. And because we were like openly fans of theirs, I think a lot of people thought we were just going to go and try and do something with him that sounds like them, but he wouldn't have done it if that was the case, And so it was just about, he sort of made it weird. That's the best way I can put it. And it was just, we were like, I think that was like the point in our career where we sort of we're going to do this, and if you're still with us after this, then great, then we can do what we want.
Yeah.
Because it would have been easy to sort of stay in that lane a little bit, or not easy necessarily, but tempting to stay in that lane a little bit of like the first 2 records. And for us, I think it was important to like, we would just always found it exciting to try something different, not just do more of the same.
Yeah, I know a lot of bands, they do get stuck in that. They're making basically the same record over and over.
Yeah.
But did you find that you had a lot of fans who dropped off after album 2 and 3?
Yeah, and the funny part was the people that would sort of like, you'd get like backhanded compliments about it. There'd be people who'd be like, I actually like that album. And I was like, I don't know if that's good or bad. I was like, okay, great.
Yeah.
But for us, it was just important to see if we could do what we wanted and still have it sort of like sorted out the real ones from the not so real ones, I suppose. And also, I understand when people feel that way. I was sort of like, you know, those first 2 records still exist. You're not going to wipe them from the internet just because we've done this one. So it's like, you know, I understood it at the same time, but it was more important to us to sort of see if we could do something different.
Yeah. I think one thing that stands out to me on this record is, it's dark, but almost every song on the record has some kind of tom groove in some sense. I don't know if that was conscious or not, but...
yeah, there is. I suppose you're right. And I think, and we'd done quite a different drum sound then, and that's something that Josh brought to it in a big way, that the way he records stuff, it's always quite like dead sounding, and it meant that you could sort of, I don't know, like when you get in a certain zone and you're like hearing your drums differently from how you've heard them before, it does kind of make you do different things. Even like here now, like when someone else has like tuned them and you're like, oh, that tom sounds good, so you like want to use it more.
Yeah.
And it felt a bit like that, I think, and I was using other people's stuff and like a different setup to what I'd usually use, because we just went there with nothing really and thought, like, we'll just use whatever's there. And so I think that opened the door to a bit more experimentation in that way.
Nice. So we're going to do, I'm stoked to see this song. You suggested we do Pretty Visitors.
I don't know why I did, but yeah. I've realized
We've got to do it.
It's
Drumeo, man.
Yeah.
The tom stuff and the fills in this are crazy.
Yeah. I just wonder how it's going to sound like without the drums and the track and stuff, but we'll see.
Well, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's hear this one.
Trudging through the morning, the tramp with a trampoline under his arm. Shift past your whiskers, so stop is a jam. But the barking alarm waits coiled till the corner is turned. And the bicycle wheels all struggle to move round in your muddy mind. Blatantly caked down, willing to wind. And cooperative time, so we sit on the springs till the mud goes dry. Plays.
Dude, that's a crazy drum
Close
part.
enough.
It's like a prog rock song.
That is nuts,
It's
actually.
like you're in like a whatever triplety feel, and then the tempo changes, and
I think I didn't know what it was when I did it.
yeah,
Like I just was trying to get to the end of the fill.
yeah.
Realized after it was triplets. I was like, oh, okay.
So was
Had to
that
make sense of it.
Would you say that was like Josh's influence? Like, how do you end up saying like that's the drum part I want to put over a verse or a chorus? Because it's pretty
yeah,
unconventional.
So I think again, kind of like when we did Brainstorm, it was something I sort of was doing to sound check all the drums.
Yeah.
Like play a beat that had everything in it, and I think I came up with it in that way, where it was just like playing around the kit.
Yeah,
And then it might have been a decision that Al made before the studio part. But then we probably had it where there was too much of that, if you can believe it. That's like a step back from what it was. And that's why it became like a beat where it's like half a beat and then the fills.
yeah,
But it used to be like the intro just like over and over again, which would be crazy, obviously.
yeah,
But Josh was, I mean, he was probably really involved in structuring that to make more sense of it.
yeah.
And I remember him saying I was like an octopus during that. So that was a good compliment for me.
Yeah, like did you notice at this point, album 3, like this is much more technical than what you hear on album 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Like were you starting to notice on every record, like wow, my playing's actually getting so much better really quickly?
And I think that's what I like about the fact that we were still learning as we were going. Like you can sort of map out the progress a bit. Like if I'd have gone into the first record already like established as a drummer, it might have like technically been better, but I don't know if I'd have made some of the same decisions I did.
Yeah.
And then sort of felt good about moving on to the next one and then the next one. So by the time we were doing a third album, I've just inevitably got better through practice and like could achieve more, and was still sort of at the time where we wanted to like flex a little bit, probably. Especially like going as well to work with someone like Josh, I was just sort of like, he only chooses the best drummers when he's like doing his projects.
Yeah.
So I was like, there's a little bit of pressure here to like impress him, I think.
Well, I'm sure you did it.
Yeah.
With that one, yeah. We've got one more song from this record, Crying Lightning.
Oh yeah.
What should we know about this one?
That's another one in the desert. Because part of this record we ended up finishing in New York, I think, with James Ford, who's done like all of our other records. But this was another desert one, and I sort of weird details that I remember about this from when we were recording it, and a lot of it is down to like the sound of the snare on this one on the recording was particularly good, and it's like I was saying earlier, when it's like you end up playing it more because it sounds good.
Yeah.
And this beat was already based around like a snare, like the groove is based around a snare fill kind of.
Yeah.
But I remember like being in the room, because the studio there, the Rancho de la Luna, the studio that's in the Joshua Tree, is just sort of like at someone's house basically. And like the drum room is, or like the live room is what would be like a dining room basically.
Okay.
And Dave, who runs it, like lives in there. So like when you're recording, you basically just take over his house. There's like amps in his bathroom and in his bedroom and stuff. And like, but I remember just being in this landscape I'd never really seen before, like the desert. You know, like there's none of that where I'm from. And like, and you can, and because no one's around, you can like have the windows up and while you're recording. And I remember like looking out a window, just playing this and recording this song, and just like I just always attach this memory to that place in a big way.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Cool. This is Crying Lightning.
Said you're mistaken if you're thinking that's right. I've been cold before. As you bit into your strawberry lace, then I felt your attention in the form of a gobstopper. It's all you had left and it was going to waste. Your pastimes consisted of the strange and twisted and deranged, and I loved that little game you had called Crying Lightning, and how you like to aggravate the ice cream man on rainy afternoons. little game you had called Crying Lightning. Crying Lightning. Crying Lightning. Crying Lightning. Your pastime consisted of the strange and twisted and deranged. I hate that little game you had called crying.
Nice. It's cool how that one's all based around that same rhythm. Hat,
Oh, yeah.
snare, it kind
Yeah,
of moves.
wherever it goes, I tried to keep that
Yeah.
rhythm going.
I can imagine playing that and seeing Joshua Tree out the window.
That's what it was. It's like
That's
I
wild.
remember it like a postcard.
Crazy.
Out the window.
Nice, man. So from here, we're moving to record number 4, Suck It and See, 2011.
Okay.
So here you guys kind of go way more poppy
Yeah.
on this one. So what was the decision to go in that direction here?
I think it was just the way that Alex was writing songs sort of changed a little bit, and it's already started to like croon a little bit on Humbug, I think, like singing wise. But I think this time he was writing more on like an acoustic, in probably more of a traditional sense of songwriting. Like I think it was like the first time he like sort of came to us with more completed ideas, and we sort of put them together as a band. But he'd been writing a bit more, just like him and a guitar, and it just like resulted in. And I don't know, I mean, maybe it was sort of also just another move away from what we'd just done.
Yeah.
Maybe that was like sort of a conscious decision too. And then the record as a whole sort of has more of that stuff, and then we tried to sort of sneak a few in that were a bit deserty still.
Yeah.
And we did that in LA again as well, so it had like, we thought that brought something to it again.
Yeah. And on this record, was there anything that you noticed that was different with your drumming kind of overall on this album?
I remember because we did it at Sound City, and we knew that we were in this like legendary like drum room, like so many records based around good drum sounds have been made there.
Yeah.
So even that itself sort of felt good to be playing there, and everything sounded great, and that's always a good start, obviously. But in terms of like what I was playing stylistically, I think it was just sort of, it had moved on again. I think I was still getting better all the time, and we were sort of in the cycle then where it's like there wasn't much time between being on tour, writing and recording. So it's like still like on the back of the momentum of playing a load of shows, and like sort of gig fit still meant that like everything sort of flowed a bit better, I think.
Yeah. Did you notice on the later records, moving from, playing for 3-4 years where it's, here's what I can do, here's all these chops, these things I've learned, moving more towards a groove and like simplistic approach. What was that like?
That was more of like a mental thing, I think. Like I used to put a lot of pressure on like doing an original beat for everything.
Yeah.
Like at least like I wanted the most of it to be sort of brand new, that no one had like done that beat before. Yeah. And obviously like you can only do so much of that before it starts sounding silly, and it's like, it's just not right for the song. So like I thought I'd like exhausted that a little bit, and then realized it's not really about that. I'm glad I did when I did, and I'm glad I came up with some of those things that are like original sounding. But then it became more about like what would like a really good drummer do in this situation, like for the song that's like someone else's sort of like, when we're collaborating in the way that we do, obviously the person who writes the song has got something in mind as well, and then it became about interpreting that as well, I think.
Yeah. So the next song we have is Piledriver Waltz.
Oh yeah.
And this one's cool because I guess you
Some
go
changes.
to the waltz feel in the chorus.
Yeah.
But
I think I remember doing this one to a click and that being confusing.
Okay.
Because you change feel, but the click stays the same. So we'll see.
Have you guys, had you done a lot of work to a click at this point, or was it a lot of it?
A little bit, yeah. Like on second record, we didn't do so much of it on the third on the desert record. It's like I don't think metronomes exist in the desert, but
it might be true.
But the second one we'd done a little bit, and it really like didn't used to like be capable of it. It was like a weird thing that had confused me, and then it like, for want of a better word, it clicked one day, and I was just like, okay, I can like ignore it, but now it's there. If I hear it, that means I've probably lost it. Like I got into that frame of mind where I'm like, okay, now I like enjoy it if anything.
Nice.
But with ones like this where it sort of changes feel, it takes a minute to like get your head around it.
Yeah.
But,
cool.
And I definitely haven't played this song for a long time, so
you're
we'll
all
see
in
if
luck.
it's still in there.
Cool. This is Piledriver Waltz.
pamphlets and the literature on how to lose. Your waitress was miserable, and so was your food. If you're gonna try and walk on water, make sure you wear your comfortable shoes. Mysteries flashing amber, go green when you answer, but the red on the rest of the questionnaire never changes. I heard the news that you're planning to shoot me out of a cannon. I heard the Piledriver waltz, it woke me up this morning. You look like you've been for breakfast at the Heartbreak Hotel, inside in the back booth by the pamphlets and the literature on how to lose. Your waitress was miserable, and so was your food. If you're gonna try and walk on water, make sure you wear your comfortable shoes. Oh, Piledriver.
I can't believe I remembered that. I had to
been a
like
minute.
go back to the studio in my memory and just be there.
Yeah. It's crazy, like, even your approach on that is so much lighter
Yeah.
than a lot of the other stuff.
I remember them. I remember people. Like, it was probably the first time I'd heard somebody who like knew what they were talking about say that it's harder to play slow, like how hard it is to play slow.
Yeah.
And I was like, what do you mean? How can it be? Like,
Yeah.
And then you do it, and I'm like, oh shit, there's like
Yeah,
so
it's
much
true.
space to not fill.
Yeah.
And something like that is another time where I had to learn like the sense of restraint and like
Yeah.
where to leave the gaps and still like it still feel good.
I just love that you guys can put out Pretty Visitors and then a few years
Yeah.
later have this on a record and it's still you guys.
No, I know I don't necessarily understand how we do that either.
Yeah.
But I'm glad
It's
that we
madness.
can. Yeah.
It's awesome. We've got one more from this record, Library Pictures.
Oh yeah.
And for me, I think the intro in this one is the coolest. There's
Yeah.
like when I listen to it, it's like a Brazilian kind of bass drum thing.
Yeah.
And then you're into the tom thing right after that.
Yeah.
But just a really cool kind of like quick drum intro
Yeah.
that's pretty original.
Yeah, it's a fun one live as well. We did this one a few times live later on. This one kind of like comes in and out of the set sometimes.
Let's hear this one.
Library pictures of the quickening canoe, the first of its kind to get to the moon. Trust some ellipsis to chase you round the room, through curly strolls and metaphors and
Nice. Crazy that's on the same record as
I
the
was
last
just saying,
song.
so that's a bit different too, isn't it?
Can you actually just walk us through that main tom groove?
The
'Cause,
first bit is...
yeah, you're coming over to play like a double
So
snare
slowly I'm doing... like that. Then with the same pattern, I think I just started to bring the snare in on parts of it. So it's like... Then live, I'll just take it around the kit sometimes as well onto the other toms. But that's the basic pattern of it.
I've also noticed by this point, like you're using the left foot a lot more than in the earlier stuff.
Yeah, I just couldn't do it before.
Okay. It's that
Coordination
simple.
threw me off. Introduced a limb on every record, I think. It was
Yeah. I mean, it's true though. Like I remember
some stuff still throws me off with that. I'm just like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
push
I mean,
it.
I think every drummer when they start out, I don't know anyone who's like timekeeping with the left foot.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But yeah, it helps.
We got there in the end.
That's all that matters. All right, so then we get to the big record, AM,
Yeah.
in 2013, and it's crazy. Like some of the songs on this record have like billions of streams and YouTube views and all that.
Right.
But I assume for you guys, like everything changed at this point.
Yeah, it was another one where we tried to obviously change the approach slightly, and it was the first time we'd done a record where we got a studio and wrote and recorded and did everything in the same space.
Yeah.
And spent a bit of time like developing it in that way, like in the studio environment instead of like a rehearsal room, and then like, and that helped because you could sort of like record as you went along, and when you got a good idea, you could sort of put it down straight away.
Yeah.
Again, it was another LA record, and we all lived there at the time, so we could sort of like really just be there.
Nice.
Go down to the studio every day and like play around, and I think it was like the first time we'd all lived in the same place for a while.
Yeah.
And that like had a big difference. That made a big difference, I think. And then musically, I suppose we'd always had the influences of like rap music in the back of our minds. We just never like presented it as openly as we did this time. And again, like you get in the danger of becoming rap rock, which we were never going to do that, obviously. So it's like, how do we do this? How do we like, honor these influences without it being, inappropriate?
Yeah.
So I think it was more about the rhythm and stuff. And then that's when we sort of got into like the falsetto vocals a bit more as well for the backing vocals. That sort of came more to the forefront. And then there was still like a bit of Sabbath influence on some of these ones too. So it was trying to like mix all these things together in a good way, in a tasteful way.
Yeah. Do you find like, I mean, the songs on this record, they were everywhere, but from a drumming standpoint, they are a lot simpler for the most part, or at least a lot less notes played.
Yeah.
Do you find like, were you missing the earlier stuff where you could play a lot more in a smaller amount of time, or did you like this kind of more chill?
I think I liked it. I think we probably went into it like with the intention of sort of doing more maybe, and then pulling it back from there.
Okay.
And again, like I said earlier, sometimes it just doesn't make sense, and you're sort of doing it for the sake of it.
Yeah.
And like going in there like with an idea of what it's going to be, it's never really worked for us anyway.
Yeah.
Like we started that album not knowing what it was going to sound like really, and I think with that record, I think we'd still be in there now if we didn't have a deadline or like a reason to get out. And we'd committed to doing like the Olympic opening ceremony or something crazy like that. So we knew we had to be ready for this, or like a big festival. And we never usually do that. We usually just like do the record, and then when we're ready, we'll move on.
Yeah.
But this one was kind of like almost too much fun to make, that we were always like wondering what was around the next corner.
Love it. So the first song we're going to do, we've got Arabella.
Yeah.
And what would you say this one was inspired by? Or
This one's probably the most inspired by Black Sabbath, and for like the heavy bits. And then this is the first time I'd done this in a studio where we ended up wiping the original drum take, and I went and did it again to the recording that they'd already done, which I quite enjoyed. It's like doing this. Like I quite enjoyed like playing along to something that was already there.
So you never typically did that?
I'd never done that until then, because most of the time we hadn't done many click either. So I imagine this was to a click, and it just, for whatever reason, we didn't like what I'd done originally, or it didn't sound right. So nobody else had to be there, and I didn't have to the way we record is like one person messes up and everyone has to do it again. So it's like everyone's like, oh, like we have to wait and see, like, did everybody like do okay?
Everyone good?
Yeah, and it's like, okay, good. Because you don't want to be the one who means you have to do another take if it like was good for everybody else. So this was like a fun way of doing it. Like it was just me and the producer and engineer, and I could just sort of like do as many as I wanted.
Yeah. Do you do any of that now, or is it still?
No. If anything, we went back more to like everybody in a room.
Okay.
Playing together, like the pressure of that.
Yeah.
It must be, I don't know. We must thrive on it in a way.
If it works, it works.
Yeah.
Cool, man. Let's hear Arabella.
Arabella's got some interstellar gator skin boots and a helter-skelter around her little finger, and I ride it endlessly. She's got a Barbarella silver swimsuit, and when she needs to shelter from reality, she takes a dip in my daydream. My days end best when the sunset gets itself behind that little lady sitting on the passenger side. It's much less picturesque without her catching the light. The horizon tries, but it's just not as kind on the eye. But she's a modern lover, it's an exploration. She's made of outer space, and her lips are like the galaxy's edge, and her kiss the color of a constellation falling into place. My days end best when the sunset gets itself behind that little lady sitting on the passenger side. It's much less picturesque without her catching the light. The horizon tries, but it's just not as kind on the eye.
Nice. You can hear the war pigs in there.
Yeah, exactly. When we do it live, we put war pigs in it.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, in a minute.
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah.
So when you put this out, was this like overnight things changed for you guys, or did it take a little while for all that to happen?
Yeah, I don't think it was as quick as it feels looking back, because I'm trying to think where we were at the time. We'd like felt good about, we'd just done like a Black Keys tour, like we'd opened for them.
Yeah.
And that's when we'd done Are You Mine? And that's the first time we'd played like the big rooms in America. Yeah. And been like the opening band, it's the first time we'd been like the opening band for a tour really. And seeing people there, because you know how it is, it's not always the case where there's people there to watch you when you're the opening band.
Yeah.
You get the odd one. But like, it was one of the things that as the tour went on, you saw like more and more people like with our t-shirts on and like at the front. I was like, oh wow, that people are like, and that was just like a really fun tour for us. And I think like the momentum of that was sort of maintained when this record came out. But But I suppose it was pretty quickly in like if you look at it as a whole in terms of, especially for what it did for us in America.
Yeah, it's always interesting. I think Nirvana, when they put out Nevermind, I think they said they were in Europe or something, and they came back to America, and it was like boom, everything had changed.
Yeah.
Or there's stories about artists going on SNL and then going back to Europe, and by the time they land, like they're just everywhere.
Yeah.
Careers changed.
Yeah.
So it's always interesting to see like how long it takes when there's those breakthrough things.
I think it probably did feel like that on like this side of the pond, because again, like it had sort of, we'd had like a blow up in England on the first bit and sort of like maintained that a little bit, and things were getting bigger there in its own way. But the growth in like North America was definitely noticeable.
Yeah. We've got one more song from this album, and I will say to all of you, if there is a song that you're waiting to hear that you don't hear in this stream, it's likely because there's another video filmed on it. So we've got you covered, don't worry. But the next one we have is Why'd You Only Call Me When You're High? So what should we know about this one?
There's not that much interesting trivia about the drums on this one, but we did have to lower the key for the backing vocals when we play it live, because this is like, I don't know how we did it. I don't know what we were doing that day to get that high, so to speak. But by the time we had to do it live, like, none of us could sing it, especially like on drums. I was like, there's no way I could like breathe well enough to sing that high. Yeah. So we like lowered it a little bit for the live version. But this is one that's probably a bit more like beat wise in like the West Coast hip hop world. I think there was a bit of influence from that, because we did originally, another like inside info was that we did try a version that sounded a lot more like Are You Mine in the desert. We did it. There's like a demo of it that I think only I have, and it's cool. It's just not. It didn't fit in with the rest of it. And I think the idea was like to, off the back of Are You Mine, to try and do more stuff like that, but it just didn't feel natural. So it went more in this like groovier, slow version.
Cool.
Which turned out great. So.
Nice. Let's hear it.
The mirror's image, it tells me it's home time, but I'm not finished, 'cause you're not by my side. And as I arrived, I thought I saw you leaving, carrying your shoes. Decided that once again I was just dreaming of bumping into you. Now it's 3 in the morning, and I'm trying to change your mind. Left you multiple missed calls, and to my message you replied. Why'd you only call me when you're high? High. Why'd you only call me when you're high? Somewhere darker, talking the same shite. I need a partner. Well, are you out tonight? It's harder and harder to get you to listen. More I get through the gears, incapable of making alright decisions and having bad ideas. Now it's 3 in the morning, and I'm trying to change your mind. Left you multiple missed calls, and to my message you replied. Why'd you only call me when you're high? High. Why'd you only call me when you're high? And I can see you, you wonder where I'm at. It sort of feels like I'm running out of time.
I can see why you had to lower the backing vocals.
Yeah, it's high.
Those are like way up there.
I don't even know,
Yeah.
what we were thinking.
Cool track though.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's like fun to play. It's like a, relaxed groove moment.
Yeah. So jumping ahead, 2018, you have Tranquility, Base Hotel, and Casino. And once again, everything changes.
Yeah.
So you've got like lounge R&B, basically not so much guitar-driven writing. So what was the idea with that?
So this again was like a shift in how he was writing songs. He was doing a lot more on the piano and stuff, and then I think that just made him sing a certain way and have different ideas really. And then like trying not to make things fit that didn't fit. It was sort of about complementing what he was doing for me. And he had certain ideas of what he wanted the drums to sound like and be like. And I'm not the type of drummer who doesn't want to hear that.
Yeah.
Like I'm not like, no, I do the drums, I'll do that. I like want it to be the best it can be for the song. Yeah, we had like the goal of like making it make the most sense for what it was. And that was like a challenge too. And then the way we recorded it again, this is back to the time when we're now trying to like all be in this big room together. And we were sort of responsible for how good it sounded because it wasn't a studio. It was like a house. It wasn't like a studio.
Yeah.
It was like a big crumbling French castle thing
Yeah.
that was like not ideal for like the sound of stuff.
Yeah.
It was a fun challenge to like, try and make it sound good and recording to tape and recording all together and all of that stuff. So it's like challenging in that way.
So when Alex comes to you he's like, I've been writing on piano, I have all these ideas.
Yeah.
Do you get excited by this idea being something totally different, or is that like, oh man, this is going to take me a bit to figure out?
Yeah, it's a
how
bit
to
of
do
both
it?
because I think at this point now, like I trust him to know that it's going to work out.
Yeah.
Like I trust his process. Because sometimes when you hear it at first, I'm like, how is this ever going to make sense for us? Like I don't.
Yeah.
Like if you just hear his version of it, I'm like, I don't know how you're going to pull this off.
Yeah.
And then it comes around and it worked out. And they are obviously different. Like it ends up sounding, completely different to what we've done before.
Yeah.
But I always like to think that we sort of like pick up where we left off in a way, even if it's really vague. It's like there's like a progression that gets you there. Like the journey from album 1 to album 7 still kind of like has a common thread. So yeah, I think it's more about me trusting that he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. I mean, if you put out this record right after album 1, that would probably just end it.
Well, I know, yeah. And I also, sometimes I think that like, even like this last album, maybe we were probably always trying to get there. We just didn't have the ability back then. Like if we'd probably want to make a record like this. And obviously taste changes and influence changes, so there's a lot of that involved too. But yeah, we just wouldn't have been able to. Yeah. Like skill-wise.
So we're going to do a few tunes from this record, starting with American Sports.
Oh, wow. Okay. What is that one? All right, can I hear it?
This is
a weird beat, this one, isn't it, I think?
Matt Helders hears American Sports for the first time.
See if I can learn it. Oh, God, yeah.
He's got it.
So when you gaze at planet Earth from outer space.
Some
of these songs, I played synth on some and someone else played drums on some recorded. Some parts of these recordings, but I did this one.
Oh, there you go. Cat's out of the bag.
Some had 2 drummers that I was playing at the same time as somebody else.
Yeah.
The James Ford did a lot of it, and yeah. But I remember this one now.
Nice.
I mean, I say that, but arrangement-wise, who knows?
Let's give it a go. This is the new and improved version.
Yeah, it might be slightly different.
So when you gaze at planet Earth from outer space, does it wipe that stupid look off of your face? I saw this aura over the battleground states. I lost the money, lost the keys, but I'm still handcuffed to the briefcase. And I never thought, not in a million years, that I'd meet so many lovers. Can I please have my money back? My virtual reality mask is stuck on Parliament Broad. In my the steward, a montage of the latest ancient rules, soundtracked by a chorus of you don't know what you're doing. And I never thought, not in a million years, that I'd meet so many lovers.
It's still there. You know it. That was great,
Wow.
man.
Yeah, close enough.
Nice.
I enjoyed that one actually in the end.
That's a great tune.
Yeah.
The phrasing of everything is
It's
so
a weird.
weird.
Yeah, it is weird. They're the ones that are hard to remember.
Yeah, it almost
'Cause it's
reminds me of like a David Bowie.
Yeah.
Kinda
There's
thing.
definitely a bit, consciously a bit of Bowie in most of the things we do these days.
Yeah,
Yeah.
cool. The next one we've got is the title track, Tranquility Base Hotel and Casino,
The challenge with this one for me is 16th grooves with like
with the one hand.
with the and the offbeat snare. Coordination wise, I used to find that really hard and probably still do. But
Okay.
as we went on, it got easier, I think.
Yeah.
It's just fun once you get in it, but it's one of the things that it feels like unnatural still
Yeah.
to do. I should practice more is what I'm trying to say.
You got the gig. You're fine.
Yeah, no, I'm just phoning it in now.
Exactly. Nice. Let's hear
I remember this.
the title track.
Jesus in the day spa, filling out the information form. Mama got a hair done, just popping out to casino. Mark speaking. Please tell me how may I direct your call.
Yeah, that's a cool groove, man.
Yeah, that's fun.
Nice. You can hear the hip hop influence in there.
Yeah, it's another one where that's in there. It's like I'm trying to play like someone sampling an MPC.
Yeah. The last track we have from this album, and you have to tell me what drums you were using on this, because the song is 4 out of 5.
Oh yeah.
And the bass drum sounds massive, but it's mixed really low. So
Yeah,
it almost sounds like you're playing like a Bonham-sized kick or something.
I think they did the thing where they put another shell in front of it.
Okay.
And just, they were like miking, there was some weird miking going on that, I remember. I had like, because it was in the room that wasn't supposed to be a studio.
Yeah.
There's a lot of like makeshift baffles and stuff going on, and like a tent over there, and there's like...
Yeah.
Yeah, I seem to remember that was like another kick in front of it, and then they mic'd that up. For the snare thing, I was hitting the stick on the snare, like that.
Okay.
But then live, I just play it normally.
Got it.
So, you know.
Yeah, it's tough to tell if it's like an affected, just like cross stick, or if you're doing the stick shot or whatever it is.
I remember hitting the stick, and I'm sure they were doing something
Yeah.
in the other room.
Something in post back there.
Yeah, exactly. But again, it was another one where we had to get it right and get it to tape. And some of these songs we were doing, this one's just got one kit on it, but we were doing like 2 of everything to try and like record like real life stereo.
Okay.
So there's like a guitarist there, a piano there, and like 2 drum kits. But so I think this one had like the 2 pianists on, but just one drum kit. But it definitely, they were making it all sound weird. But it is what it sounded like there.
Yeah, crazy, man. Let's hear this one, and then we'll jump to the last album.
Advertising imaginative ways. Start your free trial today. Come on in the waters, lovely love. You could meet someone you like. You're in the meat of your strike. It is that easy. Lunar surface on a Saturday night, dressed up in silver and white with colored old gray whistle test lights. Take it easy for a little while. Come and stay with us. It's such an easy flight. Cute new places keep on popping up since the Exodus. It's all getting gentrified. I put a taqueria on the roof. It was well reviewed. 4 stars out of 5, and that's unheard of. Mr. Bridge and Tunnel, I'm a Starlight Express, the head of special effects in my mind's eye. Okay, cokey with the opposite sex, the things you try to forget. Doesn't time fly? I'm in no position to give advice. I don't wanna be nice, and you know that. Take it easy for a little while. Come and stay with us. It's such an easy flight. Cute new places keep on popping up around claviers. It's all getting gentrified. The information action ratio is the place to go, and you will not recognize the old headquarters of a life that never happened, and the days that don't exist. At the information action ratio.
All right, so album 7, The Car.
Yeah.
Once again, another shift. You've got like a whole string section.
Yeah, I know. I think it felt like it was inevitable that we'd end up there. We'd like dabbled with it a little bit and never on a full record, but we'd done certain songs where we'd like tried out string sections and stuff. And this one, as we were recording it, we'd sort of like put like placeholder like strings in there to see how that would feel, knowing that, you know, we would eventually go and do the real thing. So it was fun. It was like a fun process for sure. And again, like recorded in a similar way to Tranquility. This time it was an old English house instead of an old French house, but same kind of thing. It was like not meant to be a studio. We took everything in there and sort of built our own studio within this place. And it was fun. It was kind of like maybe like in the middle, or you know, I don't know what you call the middle of COVID, but like, you know, like a year or so into it. Yeah. So it was, you know, it had its restrictions in that way, but again, it was like the first time we were all together for a while, and we hadn't done like a residential studio for a long time, so it was like fun to just be around each other all the time, and you could like work on stuff whenever we wanted to. Once you guys recorded all your parts, do you guys go together to work on all the string arrangements and record that? No, I think, again, we'd sort of like mapped out what it was going to be. We all had like a rough idea of what it would sound like. Yeah. But I wasn't there for the actual recording of... I saw a little bit of it actually, but I wasn't there for the whole part of the string section. But it was kind of already written. Obviously, they do their own thing to an extent too. Like we have like an arranger in it as well, but we'd sort of had ideas of what we wanted it to sound like as we were going along. Yeah, and when you guys were doing Tranquility, was this already in talks of like, oh man, maybe one day we could do this kind of thing with the strings? Or... Yeah, I think probably even on that record there were parts where we thought we might do that. And we've done it, there's certain like older songs where we did like, when we've done like special live shows with, and we've introduced a bit of that as well. Like when we did Glastonbury, like the second time, I think we did a couple old songs with a little string section. Yeah. And again, like Alex doing the Shadow Puppets thing was obviously heavy on that as well. And I think he always had it in the back of his mind that he'd bring it to us at some point. Nice. And then from a drumming standpoint on this album, did anything change, or was it pretty in line with the past one? We kind of carried on the theme from the last one a little bit in terms of, you know, not just hitting drums as hard as I can. Yeah. And like doing more subtle stuff and yeah, focused on like the grooves that sort of fit the songs the best. Yeah. I think it was a bit more of that, yeah. Nice. The first song we're going to do is There'd Better Be a Mirrorball, and this one's cool. It almost sounds like a James Bond kind of thing. Yeah, I thought that too. And this one was the first one I heard when Al was doing like demos and stuff. And yeah, like instantly sort of got me. And it became a challenge to play. It's like a bit of a tricky one for like to play live, like as a band, to get all their like the parts at the beginning to all do those weird like offbeat and swung stabs all at the same time. And it's such an important part of it that it was like, you know, there was no point in doing it unless we could do it right. And the recording part of it was fun. That was like another one that felt like a sense of achievement once we'd like nailed it, especially the drum take, because it's like not technically the most difficult, but just like it has to be sort of really precise. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Well, let's hear this one. This is There'd Better Be a Mirrorball.
Don't get emotional, that ain't like you. Yesterday still leaking through the roof, but that's nothing new. I know I promised this is what I wouldn't do, but somehow giving it the old romantic fool seems to better suit the mood. So if you wanna walk me to the car, you ought to know I'll have a heavy heart. So can we please be absolutely sure that there's a Mirrorball? You're getting cynical and that won't do. I'd throw the rose tint back on the exploded view. Darling, if I were you, and how's that insatiable appetite for the moment when you look them in the eye and say, baby, it's been nice. So do you wanna walk me to the car? I'm sure to have a heavy heart. So can we please be absolutely sure that there's a Mirrorball for me? Oh, there'd better be a Mirrorball for me.
What a cool song.
Yeah, that's a cool song, isn't
A
it?
cool
I'll admit
groove, like
that.
lots of space in there
Yeah,
too.
which again makes it difficult sometimes
Yeah.
to like wait for the bit, to be patient for like the next beat.
Yeah. Did you grow up like playing a lot of like swung stuff, or was that something you had to work on?
No, I had to work on that one for sure.
Okay.
I think, I mean, there was like always a bit of swing in some of the grooves, but not as like gently as that. It felt
Yeah.
like harder to, especially between different drums as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was a fun challenge.
Well, we're almost at the end of the show. This has been crazy. We've walked through 7 records.
Yeah.
And I think for anyone watching at home, being able to go to the beginning of this show and see what the drumming was like on the first album, all the way to here on the 7th album,
Yeah.
it's pretty amazing how your playing has shifted and adapted to how the band has changed. So
Yeah, and it's been fun to do it really, because it's also like how I play them now.
yeah,
But it also, some of them I haven't played for a long time, or rarely played them live, so it like took me back to what it was like then.
yeah.
That's cool.
And I think some big takeaways here are you can grow up playing rock music, but that doesn't mean you have to stay only in that world. You can adapt and shift, and sometimes it doesn't fit into a neat and tidy box.
Yeah.
There's a little bit of everything in there. So
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that.
yeah, exactly. Matt, I always ask this question to people, but there's a lot of new drummers watching. There's a lot of aspiring drummers who don't currently play, but hopefully you do after watching this stream. But what advice would you have to anyone who's wanting to start playing drums, or maybe has only been playing for a little bit?
My advice that I give about everything If it hurts, stop. No, I'm just kidding. No, I think for me, it's like I find it hard sometimes to motivate myself to practice like alone. And if I find something fun to play along to, I'm more likely to sort of like really get into it. Like it's intimidating to think like you have to sort of learn all these rudiments and like learn all the technicalities of it. And I just sort of didn't come from that background, and obviously there's a lot of value to that, and there's a lot of habits I wish I did have and like learned in a traditional way. But I think as long as it's like fun and you can make it something that like you actively want to do, that's like the goal, I think. And for me, and the way I do that is like just putting like my favorite songs on and playing along. And you don't have to play what they're playing. I sort of play anything over music that I enjoy listening to.
Yeah, love it, man. It's great advice. Well, we're going to wrap up with one more song. And Matt, thanks so much for being here. And
thank you for having me.
Sharing the stories and your playing. And I think people are going to come back to watch this for years and years to come. So hopefully, for all of you Arctic Monkeys fans out there, this is a real treat. So
thank you.
You're always welcome back.
Great.
We're going to close out with Body Paint.
Okay.
Off of the newest album. I think the thing that struck me on this one is the toms. I don't know if they're mixed to sound like electronic toms or if they actually are, but what's the deal with those?
No, I think they were real toms, but they were, they probably had like towels over them and stuff. I think we were doing a bit of that then, like really like dry, short signal.
Yeah.
And probably, I think I was playing with like really thin sticks as well.
Okay.
For a lot of this stuff on this record. And again, it was like the way everything was mic'd up meant that I had to play a certain way to like mix myself within it. And that obviously changes. And this one sort of took on a new form live as well. Like the ending became a lot more of a live moment, like loud and like loads more fills and stuff. But yeah, the sound of this one I always thought was cool on the record, however they mixed it in that way. But I remember the source of the sound being, like purposeful in that way. Yeah.
Cool. And lastly, remember we have some exclusive breakdowns of some of the biggest Arctic Monkeys songs inside the Drumeo platform. You can practice with an instructor, have all the notation on screen, and even practice along with Matt once you get the songs up to speed. If you want to check those out, there's a link down in the description. You can try them out for free along with thousands of other lessons and courses inside the Drumeo platform.
For a master of deception and subterfuge, you've made yourself quite the bed to lie in. Do your time traveling through the tanning booth, so you don't let the sun catch you crying. So predictable, I know what you're thinking. My teeth are beating and my knees are weak. It's as if there's something up with the wiring. You can poke your head behind the mountain peak. Don't have to mean that you've gone into hiding. So predictable, I know what you're thinking. I'm watching your every move. I feel the tears are coming on. It won't be long. It won't be long. Straight from the cover shoot, steal a trace of body paint on your legs and on your arms and on your face. And I'm keeping on my costume and calling it a writing tool. And if you're thinking of me, I'm probably thinking of you.